It's Monday the 23rd and summer has arrived with a vengeance. It's 100 degrees out today. It's supposed to be hotter tomorrow, and this heat is taking a toll on the garden. I've been coming down here regularly, weeding, watering the plants, fertilizing them, and I noticed something the day before yesterday on my tomato plants. I was hoping it was just a nutrient deficiency, but I looked at it more closely this morning and it's not. I think it's blight. So I got to rip out a lot of tomato plants before it spreads to all the tomato plants and some of the other vegetables. Conditions have been horrible for the garden this year. It's been cool, rainy, wet, and then it would bump up to 80, almost 90 degrees, then drop back down into the 50s, then shoot back up. It just hasn't been good conditions for the plants, and I think that contributed to the plants getting what I believe is blight. I also think I need to come up with a better tomato staking system than just using the tomato cages. Because these are Roma tomatoes and not the vining variety, I can't use the typical string trellis to get them to grow. So I use the cages to contain them, and there's just not enough room in them to allow them to get plenty of airflow. So I think that contributed as well. Also, a couple of the tomato plants down here, I think are actually vining type and not Romas. If you remember when I planted the tomatoes earlier this year, I had gotten the whole container done and it dropped on the ground. And I had scooped up the dirt, thought I had all the plants segregated from what I originally planted, but I'm gonna guess apparently not, since a few of the plants are really growing big and wild, and I think they're vining type tomatoes. So this is one plant that I think is a vining tomato, only because they're growing so crazy, plus the tomatoes on them don't look like Romas. So the branches go out that way. They've got more tomatoes over there. So as I said, I think this is a vining tomato. There might have been one or two others that I think are also vining, but so far these down here, this is the end garden bed. They don't have any signs of blight as far as I could see, but I'm going to take a closer look now that I'm down here in the daylight. But there's a couple up at the other end that definitely do, I think. So I want to show you that. So this is the most obvious. I mean, yellowing leaves could be watering issues over or under. And like I said, we've had a lot of rain. So that was my initial hope. But looking more closely at the leaves, it's got these black spots on them. Let me see if I can zoom in here. It's got these black spots on them, and it's all over even the good leaves. Not on top, but definitely down below, and it's killing the lower vine. So I think that's a sign that this is blight and not a watering or a nutrition issue. So I'm going to take this whole row of tomato plants, and there's a couple that way that I think need to come out too. Plus, in front, plants that didn't have it the other day are now exhibiting the same symptoms. So I may lose my entire tomato crop, which will be very disappointing, but I've got no more room to replant, and I don't want to put more tomatoes in this soil here this year, just in case the virus, or whatever you call it, has gotten into the soil. I'll just do without or make do with the tomatoes that I have left over. As you can see though, they're really close together, and the leaves the branches are all contained right in here, so there's not a lot of airflow that can get in there, particularly on the plants over this way. Like this one here. These are just densely packed, and this might be another one of those vining tomatoes, but I haven't made a determination just yet. Although, can you see that? These tomatoes right here, they do have that teardrop shape right now, so that could just be a Roma. I know the ones next to it are Romas. So anyway, I'm gonna get to taking them out. If you look down here, even though the plant has tomatoes on it, these leaves down here, these are yellowing. Not too many spots, just a couple of spots that I see. So I'm not sure, maybe I'll just try to pull off those branches and hope that that'll contain it, and that is just a watering issue on this particular plant. It's a shame because I got a nice cluster of tomatoes down at the bottom here. I've got tomatoes in the middle over here, but I just know the plant's gonna die. Those branches are yellowing and dying back very quickly. So I've got no hope that they'll survive. So as I said, I'm gonna need to come up with a better staking system next year. Also, I have 4 plants to a bed or a row in a bed. And that was based on one plant per square foot for a square foot gardening. But I'm not sure that actually applies when you're growing a Roma tomato. I know Mel Bartholomew was always growing the vining types, and when he developed the square foot gardening system, and I think that doesn't apply to this. So next year, I just might do 3 or even 2 plants per 4-foot row, to try to give them more room. But as I said, also coming up with a better way to contain the plants so that they get more airflow in them. I'm not quite sure what that's going to be, and if anybody has any suggestions on how to stake Roma tomatoes, please let me know in the comments. And I want to make sure I take all this foliage out of the garden so that it doesn't cause an issue with anything else. And I'll be really upset if someone in the comments tells me, no, that's not blight. So if it's not blight, don't tell me. But it had a lot of tomatoes on it, that's for sure. And I'm gonna go get the community garden wheelbarrow so I can put all this stuff into the barrel. Make it easier to get rid of later on. Plants had developed some nice healthy root systems, which again makes it a shame that they developed the blight. And they had been growing so strongly too. It's actually 110 degrees today. I mean, 110, yeah. 101 degrees today. As I said, it's supposed to get hotter tomorrow. But I don't know what's going to die first, the plants or me. Because it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. and it's hot. I'd also like to note that I don't like using compost from a community garden or anything like that, or like towns run recycling centers and they offer free compost. I really don't like to use that because I don't know what people have put into the compost pile, and particularly they come and pick up grass clippings and things like that, and you don't know if they've used chemicals on their lawns or other harmful sprays. And I know in the UK, a lot of gardeners I've seen have reported having really bad problems with persistent herbicides in the compost that they get, and their plants die. So that's why I prefer to make my own compost. I know what's in it. I don't use chemicals at home, and I know it won't hurt the plants. My growing practices might, but not the soil. So I'm going to pull out the rest of the plants that look like they have blight, and then I'll be back in a minute. So the tomato plants were producing some nice Romas, and they still had lots of time to grow, but better safe than sorry, I guess. So I did 2 boxes, pulled out the tomatoes. That's all I'm going to do for now, because 1, I'm going to pass out from the heat, and 2, the puppy was going to pass out. So he's in the truck right now with the air conditioner. I'm going to take these tomato plants and get rid of them. But before that, let me just take you on a quick tour of the Victory Garden to show you that not everything is death and destruction. This is the celery, and it's looking really good, really healthy. Got some nice stalks on here. And here we go down here. So I was going to harvest this now, but no, we're not going to right now. We'll do that some other time. Right next door are my beets. They're coming along, and we'll see how they do. Now without the tomatoes behind them, they get a little bit more sun. Next bed over are the carrots. Don't let anybody tell you that rabbits don't like carrots. These all got eaten down to the stump early on, and I had seen a baby rabbit in here, so I'm sure, not in my garden, but right next door, so I'm sure it was them that had been nibbling on it. And actually, when I just came to the garden now, I saw an adult rabbit running away, and it was near my garden. Over here are the turnips, and they're doing pretty good. There's a couple of tubers forming underneath, not particularly large just yet, but perhaps soon enough they'll swell up. I don't know about this heat, but hopefully they'll swell up soon. The next line of beds are my potatoes. These are russets, and they're still doing pretty good. I'm starting to see some yellowing leaves down there. So maybe we'll start to see them die back, and we'll be able to harvest them soon. But right now, they're still doing really well. Same for the middle bed. This is a mix of potatoes, russets, nordlands, and I think a few Sharp-O-Miras too. And then in the final bed, more russets. But everything's still going strong and still looking really healthy. In the last row of beds, my pepper plants. They haven't grown very large. I mean, they're just starting to put on some size now, but they haven't grown very large. We got a couple of nice peppers growing here. I'm thinking of picking this one off just to encourage more fruit development. But we've got a bunch of peppers growing. Another one over here. And then another one right there. There's a few more throughout. Back there. and a couple here and there. So I'm thinking of picking all these peppers, even though they're small, as I said, just to encourage more fruit development. Whew, I'm gonna pass out. Onions are kind of sort of starting to bulb up. Some of them are. We got a small bulb there, a slightly bigger bulb there. Yeah, that's about it. Although like a plant like that, looks like it wants to start bulbing, but we still got these really weird leaves on them. Now, I did not plant these plants deep, so I'm not quite sure why they're growing so funny, but they are, and we'll just have to take what that gives us. In the last bed are my sorry green beans, my pole beans. Rabbits also like pole beans because these were mostly chewed down to nubs as well. So I'm starting a new batch of plants at home. When they get to transplant size, I'm going to bring them down here and cover up the plants with a cover that I'm going to make for the bed. And then as they start to grow and reach, then I'll put in the TP. It's a little bit behind, but it'll be better than nothing. So a disappointing development with the tomato plants, and I guess I'm gonna have to come back later on when the sun gets a little bit lower in the sky and it's not 101 degrees out. Yeah, I'm hot. And then I'll finish pulling out the rest. But we do have some successes down here. Potatoes are looking good. Who knows what's underneath the ground, but the potatoes are looking good. Turnips seem to be producing tubers. Celery is going to get picked, so I'll get something out of that. And my peppers are starting to produce peppers, so I can't complain. But if you want to see what we're doing in the garden last week, check out this video right here, and then subscribe and hit that notification bell. And that way you'll be able to follow along in the progress on all of our vegetables as we try to grow a supermarket down here at the Victory Garden. Okay, thanks for watching.